uh, Bart Miller here. I think he's waiting. So we didn't take long, Bart. We announced you officially this morning and throw you right in front of the media group within a couple
You
of
guys move
hours.
pretty quick.
That's right. We'll go ahead and start with Robert Rosenthal from the linemenboard.com. Go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, Bart, welcome to Champaign. I'm curious about 2012 and your first kind of stint with Brett Bielema and kind of getting thrown in there in September. Can you talk through, what that was like moving from GA to OL coach and all of
that? Sure, to an extent. We had a great year in 11. Russell Wilson and Monty Ball and all those guys, and we had some turnover that year and moved into 2012 and. I was very close with that group, and we did things a certain way, the Wisconsin way of doing things up front. Got off to a really pretty slow start to the season, and didn't need to. We were pretty talented up there, and coach made a change after the second game and promoted me. I had worked very closely with him and with the previous staff and was pretty involved anyway in our offensive room. And coach felt like we needed to make a change in the O-line and get back to some of the things that we were accustomed to doing, moving people around up front, changing the line of scrimmage, physical, downhill, tough, hard-nosed football. And we had lost a little bit of that in the first two games. And so, he made the change and promoted me. Obviously a tremendous honor, and I was a young coach and had a lot to learn, but I felt like I was ready and prepared. And that's a big thing with my coaching philosophy is preparation. And I tried to take that approach in my career as well. And so I was ready. I felt ready to take on a unit of my own. And we went back to the things that we were accustomed to doing, the things I did as a player. And I played for a guy by the name of Bob Bostad, who was at Wisconsin. We just implemented those old schemes and techniques and the mentality more than anything. And slowly, week by week, we got better and better and better, and it culminated in the Big Ten championship in 2012, and it really helped launch my career as well. And I have a tremendous amount of gratitude and in debt to Coach Bielema for that faith in me, and certainly his faith in me here at Illinois now too.
And so would you say that the two of you coming back together here in 2021 at Illinois is an attempt to maybe implement that Wisconsin way that you mentioned and do that type of thing, just one state south?
Well, I think it's going to be the Illinois way. We're going to play a physical brand of football, and both of us have grown and matured in certain ways and been around other guys that influence kind of our mentalities and things from a philosophical standpoint. But at the end of the day, he continues to talk about the smart, dependable, tough, and that's what we're going to do up front. We're going to change the line of scrimmage. There's going to be a huge emphasis on vertical movement, physicality, toughness. I mean, I want the meanest, toughest, nastiest dudes on the field, and that's what I've done at every place I've been. That's the way we fostered things at Wisconsin, Minnesota, Ohio, Wyoming, you name it. And I think that's the only way to play the game, regardless of your formation structures and all that kind of stuff. You still have those five up front, and we're going to knock people around up front, and that's what we want to do. And I think that's going to be the Illinois way, playing a physical brand of football. And that's kind of why we're both here.
Thank you.
All right, Jeremy Warner from Illini Inquirer 247. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Hey, Bart, nice to meet you, man. I know you have history in this state in recruiting it. I know Doug Kramer was somebody you recruited. Josh Krutz is somebody you recruited. Just what's your familiarity in recruiting this state, and how do you feel coming back to recruit? I know Brett wants to recruit this state pretty heavily.
I'm very excited for that. First off, my history began in high school. I played at Elk Grove High School, and for a guy by the name of Bruce Pizzali. And so I have a tremendous amount of familiarity with the northwest suburbs, coming out of high school, and trained with guys like Tom Zibikowski and Brian Hare and Brett Basney. Some of you guys might recognize those names from 20 years ago. But, those guys were, that whole area there was a lot of talent here when I was when I was in high school, and I got into coaching, and this seemed kind of like the natural fit to put me in Chicago. And every stop I've been, I've had either some part of Chicago or Chicagoland area, and so have developed a lot of deep relationships and meaningful relationships with high school coaches here. And I can't wait to get back on the road to do some of those things. I know COVID's put a pretty big kibosh on a lot of that in Illinois, but I'm excited to get back to see some of those guys that I've really developed a fondness of working with in the state. And I think it's a great fit for that, and there's a lot of talent in this state. There's a lot of talent in Chicago, but there's a lot of talent down in other parts of the state that are maybe less recruited by some of the other programs. And, we did things similar at other places I've been, and you got to try to build a fence around your home state and create a sense of pride within the community, within the state. This I means something. It means something to a lot of people. It means something to me. It should mean something to our players, and you're part of something that's greater than yourself now. And we need to take a lot of pride in that in the state. And when I was in high school, you kind of had fans of all different types, right? And it's Big Ten country, but there's no reason why we can't lock down the state and keep great players at home and bring a championship to Illinois.
Is there a reason specifically you kept coming back here to recruit? Is it just your ties here, or is it because offensive line in Illinois had a certain thing you liked?
I think just the people of the Midwest. There's a work ethic in the Midwest that's not found in other places. And I know there's globalization and movement and things like that in the country, but there's a sense of pride, of toughness. A work ethic, a blue collar mentality. You put your hand in the dirt, and that's true in Chicago. That's true in the Midwest, other parts of Illinois. It's southern Wisconsin. I grew up actually in Nebraska, but there's ag in this state. People have to work for a living here, and things aren't just handed to people, and they've had to earn things, and that translates down to their children. It translates down to the way they do things in recreation too, athletics and outdoors and all that kind of stuff. And you're not recruiting a bunch of soft people. There's a hard people, and that's I think that's the foundation of it all. At the end of the game, this thing, or at the end of the day, this is about people and getting good people in here, good hardworking kids in here, people that are proud of the state, proud of where they come from, proud of the style of football we play. And that's I think a huge advantage when you recruit. I mean, this is, you don't go down to South Florida to try to find a lineman. You go to the Midwest, right? You go to places like Illinois. You go to places like Wisconsin or an Iowa or Nebraska or someplace like that. But there's a bunch of talent in this state, and we're going to keep it home.
Thanks, Bart. Welcome, man.
Thank you very much.
All right, next, Matt Stevens from Illini Now Sports Illustrated. Go ahead, Matt.
Bart, my first question is, can you kind of describe the overall development you had with Travis Frederick? I know a lot of people who grew up, as I did, in southeastern Wisconsin couldn't find Bigfoot High School on a map, but you were able to kick him inside, and after playing offensive tackle there, and had a lot of success, just starting in 2012 with you.
Sure. Well, Travis came to Wisconsin before me. I didn't recruit him there, but he was a very under-recruited player. I think Wisconsin beat Northern Illinois on him, and which seems crazy at the time, his first-round pick. But Travis was an incredibly smart player, and with him, you had to obviously, like with anybody, figure out what motivates them, what drives them. But he was so cerebral, so intelligent. He wasn't just going to follow orders because you got coach on your shirt. You had to earn respect with him and with all those guys. And I think just some of the things we did from a technique standpoint, they were able to buy in because they saw results early, and they had played for a guy like Bob Bostad, like I did. So there was a common thread there. And we were able to establish with him just some things to use his skill sets. He was incredibly strong player. So he loved the weight room, and he had a tremendous amount of power that he could generate off the line. So You get a guy like that and you put him in those strong suits. You increase your double teams, you work on some techniques and foot speed stuff to improve you. You drop his weight a little bit. And you start to see and really drive him, push him, and that's not just true with Travis. That's true with all those guys, Ryan Groy and Ricky Wagner and all those guys, Kyle Costigan, Rob Havenstein, all those guys out there. And you drive them, you push them, you make them the best that they're capable of becoming. And if they take care of that end of it, they will be one of the best in the country. And because they have the talent, and just like guys on our roster now have the talent. Our charge is to make them better and to make them the best that they're capable of becoming. And it's a John Wooden quote. You guys want to look that up, but that's our charge as coaches is to motivate these guys to be truly great and to push them farther than they're capable. They think of going now, right? Your body's capable of doing amazing things. It's the mind that stops you. And so we've got to be able to drive these guys, to push these guys to reach their full potential. And that's what we did at Wisconsin. We developed those guys to make them better. When they lived in the weight room, they did things that other people were not willing to do, right? That's where winners are, deep down where nobody else is willing to go. And that's really the mindset we took in that offensive line room is it's not necessarily working longer than anybody else. It's working harder and doing things that other guys are not doing. The refusal to go that extra mile, so to speak. And you started to see with him and other of those players, you started to see that progression. You started to see some success that maybe he wasn't having before. And so that just builds your credibility, and it becomes this very strong connection, very, very strong trust. There's accountability with me as well, me to them. I mean, there has to be immense trust in that room. But those guys are going to be held accountable. And I told those guys when I first took that O-line job, I said, guys, we're in this thing together. And if I fail, you fail, and vice versa. And so it's not a player versus coach. It's we're all part now of Illinois football. This is what we're going to do, and we're going to bring a championship to Champaign. And that's you get those guys behind that, believing in that, becoming something that's part of something that's greater than themselves, and that just continues to breed that mentality. I tell my guys all the time, it's not a culture. It's an ethos. It's deeper than a culture. It's ingrained in you. And Travis bought into that, and the rest of the line bought into that. And it was a big reason for our success that in 2012, and it's been a big reason for our success with other places I've been. So,
if I can get a quick follow-up, Bart, there's not a cupboard. The cupboard is not bare for you. I count 19 scholarship offensive linemen that are on this roster right now for you. Can you just talk about that kind of clay that you have to mold right now as you get going?
It's certainly exciting, and I'm familiar with a couple of those guys. Obviously, I'm excited to talk and see Doug again, and a couple of those other guys. I was very happy to see that they were coming back low, and some of those other guys that I've had a chance just to really watch a little bit on. I haven't seen a tremendous amount on them, but I keep hearing great things, and I'm excited for what we have to work with here. I don't see it as a rebuild or anything like that. I see it as something that there are guys now, and we're going to make them better and make them the best that they can be. And the second ranked Russian team in the conference last year, we got to build on those things and make them better, so we can do what we're talking about and bring a championship here. And so yeah, I'm very excited about the unit. I haven't had a chance to talk to any of those guys yet. I'm looking forward to that when they start getting back in town and those things. But now that this is official, we can start to move forward with kind of that next step in those things. But I'm very excited to work with these guys. Very excited.
Thanks, Bart. I appreciate it.
All right. Colin Like is from the Champaign News Gazette. Go ahead, Colin.
Hey, Bart. Good to meet you. Matt actually asked one of my questions, so I'll ask the other one. You've obviously had a few stops since you worked with Brett at Wisconsin. How do you feel like you've seen yourself develop as a coach over these last several years? And what are some of the big things you've kind of taken away from these last few stops that you've had since Wisconsin?
It's a great question. I have had some stops. Some have been by design, some have not been. But I've taken something from every place and learned, I think, along the way. And again, I was pretty young. He was in my middle 20s when I worked with Coach B last and had the line at Wisconsin. And really my first job, full-time job was the O-line coach at Wisconsin. So I think just you go through some growth. Other places I've been working with guys in other areas, they're stronger in other areas, like Greg Brandon taught me quite a bit about protections and things of that nature when I was at New Mexico State, right? And working for a couple other guys like Charlie Partridge at FAU and even Troy Calhoun at Air Force. You learn things from great coaches. Had the opportunity to work for Frank Solich and Craig Bull, who both had tremendous amount of successes in their careers, and you learn things and develop and grow things in each new offense, each new staff, and I think it's only helped me develop as a coach and take pieces from other stops we've been at, and certainly learn some new techniques. It also solidifies what you believe in, and you've got a chance to implement those at other positions. You could say, okay, well, we were loaded at Wisconsin. Well, the same things we did from a technique standpoint, from a development standpoint, from a fundamental standpoint at other schools that maybe aren't as tradition rich, like in FAU, like in Ohio or someplace like that. We still had a tremendous amount of success doing those things. So it validates some of your core beliefs, and you grow and kind of shape yourself and mold yourself as a coach, to use a term that was used earlier. But I think that's what I've taken the most from, and certain leadership styles, certain the way things, programs are run. And it makes you have the appreciation for working for a guy like Coach Bielema. So grown as a person, as a father. I've had 2 children since then, and I think you just continue to mature and gain that sense of responsibility in yourself as well. And it's helped me become a better coach. It's helped me become a better man and a better husband, better father, all those things. And at the end of the day, that's what we're doing. We're leading young men and trying to create the best football product possible for the University of Illinois. So all those things have kind of led to this opportunity, and I'm excited to kind of share that with these guys here.
Hey, Bart.
Joey Wagner from the Decatur Herald and Review. Go ahead, Joey.
Hey, Bart, good to meet you. Brett was obviously a guy who got you, was instrumental in you getting that first opportunity as a coach in the college ranks. What has the level of communication been like as you guys have gone to different stops? I mean, how regularly were you in touch before this thing started to pick up?
We've always had a relationship. I think after Wisconsin, it was maybe a little less than it was initially. And then after a year or two, it certainly picked up again. He's helped me get some other jobs of mine, and certainly looked out for me in some other positions. And it's helped me tremendously in my career from an advice standpoint too. And had a chance to go out to New England when he was there. I've got some other connections there, and have just kept in touch a couple of times a year, checking in, just like you do in this profession. But he's always been a guy that I've respected, grown from, learned from, a mentor in a way, and he's put his faith in me and I in him. And so we've always kind of kept in touch. And when this opportunity came his way, I waited a few days to reach out just to congratulate him, but it expedited fairly quickly after that. And here we are. So certainly have maintained a very good relationship since our last time together.
Thanks. Welcome to Champaign.
Okay, we'll go with Matt Fortuna from The Athletic, and then we'll finish up with Jim Cotter. So go ahead, Matt.
Hey, Bart. Good to meet you virtually. In non-pandemic times, what's your philosophy as far as building camaraderie among your group, off the field, barbecues, things like that? And what's your philosophy right now as you can't do any of that as you go to get to meet these guys?
Great question. Outside the pandemic, which will beat this thing and we'll get back to normal, but the unit has to be cohesive. It's the most important unit in sports. It's one of the hardest positions in sports to play. It's 5 guys working together efficiently to dominate your opponent. And there has to be trust on that unit. There has to be a dependability. I have to be able to count on the guy next to me. And you can't do that by just saying a bunch of words, right? It has to be built and forged through the training, through the preparation, right? And that's where it starts. You know, the training should be difficult. Practice should be demanding. And your preparation should be difficult and challenging so that the test is easy, right? And if you put yourself through that grueling preparation method, whether that's the physical training, that's the practice, that's training camp, that's the way they are in the weight room, the mental approach, the preparedness that you take from a mental side, getting ready for the games, those things, you know, you're going to foster that, right? And it's a bond that's created over a hardship, right? And it's the same principle that's used in the military. It's the same principle that's used in any small group elite organization. And it's no different on the football field. Those guys are working together to accomplish a common goal. They have to be able to depend on each other. They have to be able to trust each other, that when things go badly, the guy next to them has been through the same thing that they've been through and is prepared to come out on the other side on top. And so that's where it starts, in creating this pride in what they're a part of, creating this pride in the fact that they're doing something that nobody else can do and or has the ability to do or wants to do, right? And it's a very tough position. You're hitting someone every play. And so we have to train that way. We have to prepare our bodies that way. Live in the weight room. It's a very physical and demanding position. And so we put them through that. We hold them accountable, you know, and that's the other thing. They got to be able to trust each other that you're doing the right thing, right? If I can't trust you to do well in your science class, your math class, how can I trust you on 3rd and 2, right? How can I trust you in a situation where if you're not, you know, getting to tutors on time, something very simple like that requires zero talent, right? How can I trust that you're going to not jump off sides in a critical situation, right? So there is a measure of accountability. We'll hold those guys accountable together, and there'll be some ownership there and some buy-in there because of that. The other thing is we do a lot of things together as a unit, or typically have. You know, I take them paintballing in the wintertime, and when I was at FAU, Doug didn't get the chance to experience this, but we went out to the Everglades and swamps to do that, so it's a little dangerous at that point. But here we'll have to figure out something else. But you know, we do barbecues. I have them over at the house. I put things on the smoker and do that. You know, my kids are love being around the team as much as they can. You know, so they'll get a chance to see me interact with my wife and see me interact with my kids and those type of things. And it becomes very much a part of who we are, and you kind of bloom here with this, and that's, I think, all that kind of stuff incorporates into that. And they don't have to be best friends, but they do have to trust each other. They do have to work well together, and a lot of times that fosters through what they go through. So my philosophy, we're gonna work very hard. They're gonna live in the weight room. They're gonna do some extra work at times and things like that, but they're gonna do it together, and there's gonna be a trust that's built because of that, and then they're going to hold each other accountable, and we're going to compete for knockdowns. You know, I have a trophy made everywhere I've been, a knockdown trophy, and it goes to it's kind of like the Stanley Cup. Your name gets etched in it at the end of the season, and you get it for the weekend or whatever. And you know, there's going to be things like that, incentives to foster competition, right? And competition drives what we do, and we want guys that want to win. They want to be great. Losing is not okay, and those guys will know that, and they need to win in everything they do. You know, winning in the classroom, winning off the field, winning on the field, on the practice field. You know, and I think all those things help foster this culture that you're a part of something that's greater than yourself. You take an immense amount of pride in that. And you're going to work to make that better every day, and that's what we do in our unit.
All right, we'll wrap up today with Jim Cotter, who's writing for the Rivals.com Orange and Blue News today. So, Jim, go ahead.
Bart, welcome to Champaign. I'm just going to expound on that last question a little bit. I know it's no secret that the key to a great offense is the guys blocking in front of them in the offensive line. And we've mentioned that there's been like 19 guys returning or whatever, but you've got a good core returning that have been starting for a couple of years now. Just talk a little bit about what that entails and how you are going to make them even stronger come, you know, over the spring and during the summer to get them prepared for next year.
Well, first step, I need to do a little more evaluation, but at the same time, we're going to live in the weight room. I mean, we have to be able to move people, And I think we've got some good strength. I think we've got, like I said, some pieces in place. We need to continue to get better, continue to develop, right? You're either staying this, getting better or getting worse. You're never staying the same. And so we need to continue to get better and do that in the off season right now with NCAA rules and things like that. We've got to be able to lift and become explosive, very powerful. Again, moving, changing that line of scrimmage, and they need to be able to transfer power from their hip, from the floor through their hip into the block. And so a tremendous amount of that is their physical preparation for the off season. And then we'll start, as we start to implement our offense, work on some technique stuff, some individual work as we get into spring ball. That way they can kind of hit the ground running in spring ball, and then spring football is vital for us to be able to get those 15 practices and implement not only our new philosophies at places, but also some of our techniques and some of the new things that we're going to implement, but our coaching styles and teaching techniques and all those type of things. So I think that all is incredibly important as we move into this off-season time, when they get back on campus. And, next steps with me is to be able to get in touch with those guys and communicate kind of our plans and our goals set and moving forward, and working towards accomplishing those goals as we get into that other phase in the summertime too, where, again, we're continuing into that strength and conditioning phase. We will do some positional work in the summer and these new NCAA rules the last couple of years. That's been a very big help, and get them prepared so when we take the field, wherever we are in August, we're ready to hit the ground running with this new Illinois program and Illinois offense. So the development piece is huge. And with these 19 guys coming back in, there's going to be, they've had a couple of these guys have had 2 other O-line coaches. And so just getting everybody on the same page, implementing our stuff, but a tremendous amount of training, physical work, and getting these guys where we want to be so we can do what we're all wanting here to happen and win that championship and lead the Big Ten in these offensive categories, but also work to become the best offensive line in this conference. And that's hopefully then eventually the best offensive line in the country. And that's not a coach speak. That's not cliche. That's the goal. And it's happened in other places. And it may not happen overnight, but there's no reason why we're not working for that. And that's a realistic thing here at the University of Illinois. This one, I want this to be an O-line school. And so that's our mentality. We're going to work towards that every day, and they're going to train like that every day.
Thanks, Bart. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jim.
All right, Bart, we appreciate your time today. Thank you very much. Welcome to Illinois, and we look forward to doing this again sometime. So thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys. Nice to meet all of you.
Thanks, Bart.
All right, for the media on here, appreciate your time today. And just keep your eyes open. If anything else would be to pop, I don't think we're expecting any other announcements today. So appreciate you guys. Have a happy new year if I don't talk to you before then.